Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan and his deputy removed from government. The alliance partners, the SACP and COSATU, criticized the reshuffle, and since then, relations between the tripartite alliance partners deteriorated, with COSATU and the SACP barring President Zuma from its functions. The Communist Party is expected to use the platform to formally inform the governing party of its intention to contest the elections independently. Now, the SACP First Deputy General Secretary, Soli Mapaila, joins us now on the line. A very good afternoon to you, Soli. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, the long-awaited meeting coming amid tensions within the alliance partners. What should we expect from this meeting?
Yeah, good afternoon to our viewers. No, the meeting will basically be our briefing to the ANC on the outcomes of our Congress officially, given that the Congress has taken far-reaching decisions, including the decision to reconfigure the alliance anew, in which case it has given us the concept of the roadmap to prepare our participation in the coming elections, which is conditional to the discussions with the ANC on the concept of the roadmap and the reconfiguration of the alliance. And therefore, that's very important meeting, because we felt that we could not wait for the Alliance Political Council, which we are still committed to, and we've made it known to the ANC as we are meeting them this time that we are still committed to the Alliance Political Council, in which broader issues affecting our resolution and our government should be put to the table for discussion by all of us, not just by the ANC, because the ANC in government represent all of us in the alliance in terms of being the party that represents the alliance. And therefore, the meeting tomorrow becomes strategic in that regard. And of course, to the extent that we have long taken a decision about the President Zuma, we have officially informed the ANC through a letter and also through talking to the Secretary General of the ANC officially just before we announced this decision to the public. We had officially informed the ANC. We will do it again possibly tomorrow in the meeting, so that we are on record in our formal bilateral to put this thing to them as well.
Now, the SACP previously declined to meet the ANC for a bilateral meeting, insisting that an alliance political council meeting be convened. What has changed?
Yes, what has changed is the outcomes of our Congress, which had said that we're taking that decision before our Congress, and post the Congress said we must develop a roadmap which we must give feedback to our structures by end of December. By the first week of December, when we will convene our last meeting of the year, which is what we call the Augmented Central Committee. But in the current conditions in which the Alliance Political Council is not possible to be convened, given that the ANC is not actually convening the meeting. We have made requests for that meeting to be convened, so did COSATU, but the ANC is not convening that meeting. We fear that we will not go to that meeting and simply say the Alliance Political Council has not said. That is why we've taken a decision first to put this matter again to the discussion for tomorrow, and to indicate that the ANC must convene this meeting, or failing which the SACP has the responsibility to convene the meeting of the alliance, because the alliance partners are equal partners. We may have asked the ANC to be the leader of that particular grouping of the alliance, given its broadness. It doesn't represent a particular section of society. It represents the broader section for which we are all represented in that within the ANC. That is why it has assumed this particular mandate. But if it fails to politically exercise leadership on this mandate, we equally have the right to convene a meeting of the alliance and invite the ANC to participate, and thereafter we can then give a feedback on the basis of failure of this meeting to take place, because we have also not convened it. So that is why tomorrow we'll discuss with them mainly the outcomes of the Congress on the reconfiguration of the alliance and the roadmap, the process that we had required us to consult with the alliance component.
Now, Soli, let me not preempt the agenda of the meeting, but then another likely sticking point in that meeting could be, the ANC's decision to discipline members of parliament who defied the ANC in the motion of no confidence vote against President Jacob Zuma. Now, the ANC came out with guns blazing, frowning upon such conduct from the alliance partners, calling it, interference.
Yeah, of course, it can never be interference. We issued that in our statement today after our Central Committee and reiterated our solidarity with those comrades, that we stand with them. We feel that there should be people that should be disciplined, the ministers who have leaked cabinet memos, the ministers who have pronounced their own decisions about cabinet outside the mandate of cabinet, the people who are linked up in the Gupta leaks, who have shown absolute disdain and almost involved themselves in corruption. And the ANC has not lifted a single finger to try and correct this situation. But for comrades who have spoken out in defense of the value system of the ANC, in defense of our revolution, are the ones that are being intimidated and held down to disciplinary action, been sent letters to explain themselves. We feel they could handle this question differently and invite those comrades to a process of discussions outside the disciplinary framework. Because in this case, the disciplinary framework has become selective to those that differ with the top echelons of the leadership, whereas it is within the mandate and framework of principles and policies of the ANC.
Now, the SACP is considering contesting the polls against the ANC at the polls, I beg your pardon. Now, while sticking to the current dual membership model, bring some light as to how that will play out.
Well, that was one of the main debates in our Central Committee, elaborating properly this question of the dual membership. As you know, this matter is going to affect the movement deeply. That is why we've debated it proper, and we'll also take it up with the ANC. But at the same time, the decision for us to participate in the elections is conditional to this roadmap process and the report back to our structures. That is why it's important that we can't delay this matter any longer without meeting the ANC, because it's a principal organization that we should discuss this matter with, because it represents all of us in government, as I indicated, and therefore such a debate and discussions with them is important, so that we don't only carry the difficulties of our revolution as the Communist Party, but all of us in the movement, including the ANC, carry the difficulties that our revolution is facing. They can't extricate themselves from these difficulties and try to be a holy cow somewhere and only be selective and even act in a factional manner in the name of defending the revolution. That is why we think that we need to put and place on the table major issues facing our revolution, including the whole notion of demonopolization of the economy, which should be done broadly in consultation with the alliance partners, so that we all know what agenda are we all fulfilling at the current moment. As we speak, this agenda is confusing because someone says something else which others don't feel it's within the framework of our agreed perspectives, and therefore that discussion on whether we are standing on our own or not is conditional to completion of this roadmap and how we reconfigure the alliance.
Now, the Communist Party indicated that it's already working with civil organizations to chart, a new path towards forming and leading a popular front of working class and other progressive forces. Who are these organizations that have been in touch with?
Well, we remember we started we organized a national imbizo wherein different sections of our society participated, including sections of business, faith-based organizations, community organizations, civil society organizations that deals particularly with social justice and economic questions for our people. All of those, and the trade union movement, youth and women organizations, we all put them together, including the African National Congress, by the way, which participated in that particular imbizo. And we agreed on basic issues to focus on. So it's not just only the Communist Party that raises these matters, and there's no broad coordination in a single voice of our outrage against, for instance, corporate capture of the state, against defense of our national sovereignty and our constitution. That's the platform we characterize as the Patriotic Front. And therefore, that aspect of a wider range of patriotic front to fight to defend our democracy and our constitution becomes an important part. And we feel we can't be outside of that particular process. But we also understand that that broad front is not equal to perhaps one of our own agenda items, which is about the creation of a socialist South Africa, the ability for government to meet the needs of the poor, as we have indicated through the Start SA about on its poverty indicators, the levels of poverty afflicting our people. So within that, it emerges, therefore, a progressive front of those that can work with us to resolve the problems of poverty, economic exclusion of our people, and so forth, which is different from the broader patriotic front. And therefore, we have already begun to participate with some of these organizations in carrying forward this mandate. And if the ANC wants to join us to the logical conclusion of these programs, we'll be happy to continue to work with them in that regard. But if it's unable, and particularly given its difficulties now and possibly some of the inabilities to self-correct, we'll continue to work with this wider range of organizations to fulfill this mandate, which also is the mandate of the ANC.
All right, so Lee, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you. That is the SACP's second Deputy General Secretary speaking to us on the line live from Johannesburg to bring us up to speed about the SACP's planned meeting with the ANC tomorrow to thresh out their differences. This is PM News. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back.